TVC News, Kachia.
The National Association of Nigerian Maritime Students held a peaceful protest at the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency headquarters in Lagos to demand reforms and infrastructure at the Nigerian Maritime University. The protesters say they are concerned that the Nigerian Maritime University is on the verge of collapse due to years of neglect, underfunding and lack of support, which has impacted the quality of education. Civil society organizations who joined the students' protest described the Maritime University as a critical institution for the development of Nigeria's maritime industry. Now, Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, Olufemi Lawson, joins me now for more on this. Good to have you join us.
Good evening, Precious.
So for years now, we have been clamoring for specialized and technical universities and colleges. Here is one that we have set up. The president just recently assented to this particular university, the bill of this university. And now there is the allegations of underfunding and neglect. What do you make of that?
Thank you. I think the most worrisome part of the latest development, especially with today's protest by students and civil society organizations over the poor funding of the university, should actually alert our consciousness to some very important fact. In actual fact, the Nigerian Maritime University, NMU, is even a brainchild of NIMASA. It is not one of those universities founded on the basis of wanting constituencies to have universities or higher institutions. Ordinarily, one would have expected that the NIMASA as an agency would take as a priority the funding of that university, not only that university, but other maritime institutions, especially at a time that we have for the first time having a ministry in charge of marine and blue economy under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In actual fact, a lot of times in the past, one would have thought that, of course, even though NIMASA was instrumental to the birth of NMU, and of course some other maritime institutions in Nigeria, but the fact that this administration has created a ministry, not just a ministry, perhaps one of the most important ministries as far as the administration is concerned today, the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry. One would have expected that the NIMASA as an agency would have been more responsible.
And Mr. Femi Lawson, you're raising a very critical point because, these are the issues. I remember when we were having a conversation with not just ASU, but also members of the Nigerian the Nigerian resident doctors. You find that whilst they are under a particular ministry, the Ministry of Labor also tend to wade into their issues. In this particular case, it is the Ministry of Education that would oversee these universities. Is it perhaps now maybe transfer responsibility or some of that responsibility to the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy?
No, it is a fact that all tertiary institutions have, the Ministry of Education rather, have supervisory role on not tertiary institutions in Nigeria, but for specialized institutions like universities of agriculture, universities of technology, and most importantly, the Maritime University, the ministries, particularly the agencies of government that are responsible for their establishment or, by law, responsible for their smooth running, also have to. So in the case of the Nigerian Maritime University and other maritime institutions in Nigeria, the Ministry of Education is not primarily responsible for their well-being, their progress and development, but also those agencies, particularly the NIMASA, which is under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, like I told you, NMU is a child of NIMASA. So one would have expected that NIMASA would take serious interest. This is an agency of government that is spending so much training, personnel overseas, when you have a university, spending so much, in ensuring, trainings and so on. In actual fact, all the benefits that ordinarily the NIMASA as an agency should have been given to these universities, all the opportunities that the NIMASA as an agency should be given to students of these universities are no longer available because the NIMASA has forgotten the fact that it is actually the father, the mother. In actual fact, the NIMASA gave birth to that university. So for us as a civil society, I think it is important to remind NIMASA that not only do NIMASA have a responsibility to fulfill its obligation to the Nigerian Maritime, but also ensure that, it must work in line with the actualization of the agenda of President Bola Tinubu.
Absolutely.
Which, in its wisdom, created the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, where NIMASA is currently under.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We hope that these issues are addressed promptly. Thank you. Always a pleasure to have you on as the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, Olufemi Lawson.
Thank you, Precious.
Let's talk health now. The Coordinating Minister of Health and